King of the UK as he strips his brother Andrew of all titles, including Prince. Buckingham Palace said in a statement that the king started the process to remove the style, titles, and honors of his younger brother.
Royal tensions are hitting a whole new level right now. Word on the street is that Prince Andrew stormed into London looking heated after King Charles pulled the plug on his financial support. For years, Andrew enjoyed that royal cushion, but things are shifting fast. People everywhere are asking what really pushed the king to make such a bold move, and what went down behind those palace doors. Is this the breaking point between the brothers, or is something bigger brewing behind the scenes? Let's break down why King Charles cut off Andrew's financial pipeline, and what this means for a prince whose world is starting to crumble. When Andrew suddenly showed up in London, all eyes were on him. Witnesses saw him step out of a dark car near Buckingham Palace looking stiff and tense, like he already knew the headlines were about to blow up. Reports were flying that King Charles had cut off the financial lifeline that kept Andrew's lifestyle running smooth for years. It sounded dramatic, but there's more behind it than just money. Born in 1960 as the third child of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Andrew entered the royal world with excitement around him. With Charles and Anne ahead of him, Andrew arrived as the Queen's beloved baby, charming, confident, and carrying the weight of royal expectations. Everyone thought he was destined to shine, and in the beginning, he really did. His education followed a strict path set by Prince Philip. He attended Gordonstoun School, famous for its tough discipline, brutal outdoor challenges, and a motto based on endurance. Philip believed that facing hardship shaped strong character, and he pushed this on all his children without hesitation. Teachers described Andrew as lively, bold, sometimes cheeky, and always aware that eyes were on him. Grades weren't everything. What mattered was presence, confidence, and knowing how to handle elite social circles with ease. After Gordonstoun, he followed family tradition and entered the Royal Naval College at Dartmouth. This wasn't just duty. It was Andrew's shot at proving himself. During the 1982 Falklands War, Andrew flew helicopters on missions that were seriously dangerous. For a moment, he wasn't just a prince waving at crowds. He was a man stepping into real risks, and the public respected him for it. His naval career continued strong after the war as he rose to commander and later received honorary roles tied to the Navy. These roles opened doors to charity work, public events, and gave him a polished, respectable royal image. Financially, Andrew's lifestyle came from several streams. The sovereign grant covered official duties, private allowances from the monarch helped with personal needs, plus he had military pensions, inherited wealth, and trusts. These parts built a system that paid for staff, travel, events, and every detail needed to maintain the royal shine. Even his home, the Royal Lodge in Windsor, came through this system. The property sits on Crown estate land, owned by the state, but leased to senior royals. Andrew secured a 75-year lease in the early 2000s with a big upfront payment. But maintenance, staff, and security, those were mostly handled through royal funding. That's what financial support really meant. Not just cash, but a whole network designed to uphold a prince's lifestyle. In his early years, Andrew fit into this system perfectly. The charming war hero, the Queen's favourite, a prince with connections across charities, youth groups, tech projects, and military organisations. His influence felt solid, his position secure. But the same system that lifted him also made him dependent. Losing access to it, as reported now, marks the slow collapse of the world that held him up for decades. And everything changed after 2019, when his life took a dramatic, very public turn. His friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, which had been whispered about before, suddenly became the centre of global attention. They first crossed paths in the 1990s in high-status circles, mixing philanthropy, business, and elite society. Over time, Andrew attended private dinners, gatherings, and trips with Epstein, confirmed later through flight logs and visits, even after Epstein's earlier conviction for serious crimes. When the public realised the full scope of their connection, Andrew's image was already wobbling, but nothing could prepare him for what came next. On November 16, 2019, everything blew open during the BBC Newsnight interview. Emma Barnett, who had spent weeks preparing, confronted Andrew directly about his association with Epstein and asked him to address key allegations. From the moment the cameras rolled, the tone was intense. The tension in that room felt heavy from the jump. Andrew sat stiff, his posture tight, and his face almost frozen, like he was trying to hold every emotion inside. The interview instantly turned heads because his explanations sounded too polished, almost rehearsed to the point of feeling forced. And when he dropped the line claiming he couldn't sweat because of a medical condition at the time, everything went sideways fast. That comment sparked confusion, jokes, disbelief. People couldn't stop talking about it. Every move he made, every blink, every pause got dissected online. The reaction from the public was harsh and relentless. Buckingham Palace stepped in with a calm, careful statement announcing that Andrew would step back from public duties, phrased in a way that avoided accusations but still showed the monarchy understood the damage this situation was creating. The Queen found herself trying to balance loyalty to her son with duty to the crown. And that wasn't a simple decision. The phrase, "step back from public duties," acted like a soft suspension. It didn't say how long it would last, but it clearly placed distance between Andrew and the royal spotlight. It kept him part of the family while protecting the institution from more backlash. Outside the palace walls, things were shifting fast. Organisations and charities that once backed Andrew started cutting ties one after another. Universities returned honours, foundations cancelled events, and companies quietly ended their associations. Everyone understood the message. Staying linked to him was becoming a risk, and distancing was the safest move. Andrew, once surrounded by connections, suddenly found himself standing alone. The Newsnight interview didn't just create a bad week, it reshaped the entire public view of him almost overnight. Polls showed a massive drop in approval just weeks later. Media outlets didn't frame it as just a personal mistake. They cast it as a sign of the royal family struggling to keep control during a scandal. Commentators said the interview didn't just hurt Andrew's image, it rewrote it completely. The confident, charming prince now appeared disconnected, defensive, and unable to read the room. Analysts pointed out how rare it was for one single interview to flip a public figure's identity so dramatically. By the end of 2019, Andrew's position had transformed, and the fallout was only beginning. What happened next tied together the Epstein timeline, the palace's distancing, and the legal battles that followed. The next chapter unfolded in the United States when Virginia Giuffre filed a civil case against Andrew titled Giuffre versus Prince Andrew. She alleged misconduct, which Andrew firmly denied. Because the case involved a public figure tied to royalty, legal experts said it was unusual not only for its details, but for the massive public attention surrounding every filing and motion. Lawyers for both sides moved cautiously, knowing every step would become headlines. A major turning point came in February 2022, when Andrew and Giuffre agreed to settle the case out of court. The public statement made it clear the settlement involved no admission of liability from Andrew, a standard approach in civil resolutions. The official dismissal confirmed the case was resolved, but kept the deeper details confidential, also typical for settlements involving sensitive legal matters. The secrecy around the settlement sparked curiosity everywhere. People debated the terms, while media outlets treaded lightly, reminding viewers that civil agreements often seal financial and personal information to protect involved parties. Even with the legal closure, the fallout for Andrew continued. Within months, he lost his remaining military roles and honorary positions, a decision shaped by public pressure and the seriousness of the situation. No new charges were brought, but the scrutiny never fully faded. Opinions about him stayed negative, with many saying the settlement may have closed the legal chapter but didn't rebuild trust. Experts pointed out that legal resolution doesn't always translate to public forgiveness. Andrew's name stayed in headlines whenever new details appeared, keeping his connection to the case alive in the public mind. When excerpts from Virginia Giuffre's memoirs surfaced around 2025, they added new commentary and further shaped how the public viewed everything that had happened. It's important to remember the limits of public records in cases like this. Civil settlements often seal information to keep financial details, private messages, and sensitive matters confidential, especially when high-profile individuals are involved. Courts may protect information to encourage resolution, and journalists can report only what is legally accessible. Yet, even partial information can spark speculation, shape narratives, and influence public perception. In Andrew's case, what was not disclosed often became just as important as what was. Media reports revealed every nuance, creating a narrative that, while legally incomplete, was fully formed in the public imagination. With the legal battle behind him, the next challenge was no less daunting. Losing financial support meant Andrew now had to face the practical realities of royal life on his own, bringing up questions of residence, security, and the logistics of downsizing a household built over decades. Royal Lodge, his Windsor Great Park estate, had a long history of royal occupancy and came with complex legal arrangements. Every corner of the estate carried responsibilities far beyond simple ownership. The lease was a Crown estate agreement, technically held by the state but assigned to senior royals under long-term terms. Andrew had enjoyed the house for decades, but those privileges always came with strings attached. When King Charles withdrew financial support, the palace made it clear that maintaining the lodge under the existing lease would no longer be feasible. Suddenly, decades of comfort and access came under harsh scrutiny. Andrew faced the prospect of surrendering his lease, a move that carried enormous weight. Running a property like Royal Lodge was far more than maintenance. It demanded a team of gardeners, housekeepers, and grounds personnel. Estimates suggest keeping the property operational could cost hundreds of thousands of pounds annually, not including heating, repairs, or upkeep of its historic features. Every aspect added to a mounting financial burden. Security added another significant expense. Andrew's residence required a permanent protective detail, and with the palace withdrawing funding, those costs became his responsibility. The combination of staff, maintenance, and security created a burden few could manage without substantial support. Losing access to royal allowances meant he suddenly confronted the full scale of these expenses. Security had always been central. At Royal Lodge, the state provided official police protection for senior royals, but Andrew's private security team came from separate funding channels. Reports revealed that with the withdrawal of royal support, payments for private security ceased, leaving him to negotiate protection independently or rely solely on state-provided details, which came with limitations for a high-profile figure. Managing this shift required careful planning, not only for safety, but also to preserve discretion. The palace watched closely as Andrew adapted to the new arrangements. His next setback came with a formal announcement from Buckingham Palace on October 30th, 2025. The palace issued a statement initiating the process to remove his royal style, titles, and honours. The language was precise and deliberate, laying out the official decision and how it would be enforced. By November 3rd, legal instruments were in place, letters patent were issued, and the Crown Office published the notice in the Gazette. The documents removed both the HRH styling and the use of the word Prince. The phrasing made clear what these measures did and did not do. In Andrew's case, the move stripped him of public-facing royal privileges and responsibilities. It also meant all formal records, from honours lists to official correspondence, would reflect the change. Royal title changes have been rare, usually tied to a prince marrying without permission or voluntarily giving up honours. What made Andrew's case stand out was the mix of legal authority, public pressure, and personal issues. The move was a big deal for the monarchy. It showed that even a senior royal could lose status if their actions put the crown's reputation at risk. While the legal process wasn't new, the context was for Andrew. The shift was both symbolic and practical. Invitations to official events stopped, ceremonial roles disappeared, and by early November 2025, his public presence had sharply declined. His position as a public royal had been reduced in both legal status and public visibility. This shift opened the door to a new chapter: life without royal support and the financial reality of losing allowances. The sovereign grant and reliance on private funds had once kept a prince's lifestyle secure, but now Andrew faced uncertainty, rising costs, and the need to manage expenses independently. After losing his royal style and honours, Andrew had to face the reality of life. Without the support that had carried him for decades, Andrew's financial reality suddenly became much clearer. To start, the sovereign grant is the main source of public money for the monarchy. It pays for official duties, staff salaries, travel, and the upkeep of royal residences. It does not cover personal spending, private security, or non-official projects. For Andrew, stepping back from public duties meant the public could no longer justify funding his lifestyle. Reports suggested that he received a private allowance of around £1 million a year. Some biographies and news stories claimed King Charles personally ordered cuts to this money. The palace never confirmed these amounts, but the figures circulated widely and fueled speculation. This funding likely included a mix of public-linked funds and private allowances tied to his official duties. Losing it would force him to rethink everything, from home staff to day-to-day living expenses, even after stepping back. Reports on Andrew's finances remain mixed. Some sources mentioned a six-figure relocation payment and a smaller ongoing stipend. Others claimed all support stopped entirely. On top of this, Andrew still has access to private wealth. Family trusts, inherited money, and loans make up part of his financial safety net. Exact amounts are unclear, but investigative reporting has traced some of these resources over the years, including trusts and arrangements meant to cover homes, staff, and other living costs. Andrew also has other ways to earn money, but opportunities are limited. Pensions from his military service and past positions provide some income. Investments or business work, including speaking fees, could help. But his public image now makes high-profile opportunities difficult. The prestige that once opened doors has faded. That means smaller-scale investments or quiet private work may be the most realistic ways to generate income going forward. All of this shows a clear shift. Andrew no longer has the same financial and institutional support. He must balance personal resources against the costs of staff, security, and maintaining a lifestyle that matches his profile. Conflicting reports and unclear details of his private money make the situation even harder. His business ventures became a reflection of how much his role had changed. One of his most high-profile initiatives was Pitch at Palace. He founded it to support entrepreneurs and showcase business ideas globally. At first, it attracted attention and praise, offering mentoring, networking, and access to funding. The program ran events around the world, including in the United States, the Middle East, and China. However, after 2019, following the Epstein revelations and the Newsnight interview, activity slowed. Public controversy and legal battles forced a pause. By 2025, filings show moves to formally dissolve Pitch at Palace Global and related companies. Lists of transfers, dissolutions, and directors stepping down signaled the practical end of Andrew's involvement. Connections in China drew particular attention, with reports highlighting invitations to Pitch at Palace events for Chinese businessmen, including figures like Yang Tang and Bo. Some media coverage raised concerns about influence, and later UK restrictions banned certain participants from involvement. While Andrew consistently denied wrongdoing, the scrutiny made these events politically sensitive. Critics argued that even without illegal activity, the perception of risk and the complexity of international relations made continuing Pitch at Palace impossible for Andrew. These concerns added pressure as he tried to maintain a business profile under public and institutional scrutiny. Meanwhile, patronages and military roles formally ended in 2022. Organisations that had once relied on Andrew as a figurehead or ambassador returned honours, cancelled events, and removed him from leadership roles, often citing reputational considerations. The loss of these positions reinforced his gradual retreat from public life. What had once been a network of influence and visibility became a series of formal disconnections, each reinforcing the story of a prince transitioning to a more private existence. Corporate filings tell another part of the story. Recent accounts show dwindling assets for Andrew-controlled entities. Companies House and Times reporting illustrate transfers of ownership, director resignations, and eventual dissolutions. These steps reflect both legal necessity and real-life pressure. Without royal support, keeping international business ventures going was extremely difficult. Money coming in slowed down, projects stopped, and some partners pulled away to protect their image. The filings clearly show someone closing down operations that once had royal influence. The end of these businesses feeds directly into the narrative of Andrew as a private citizen without the institutional umbrella. Every action, every partnership and every financial move now exists under public scrutiny. The loss of patronages and formal roles leaves Andrew outside the framework that once allowed royals to operate globally without question for employees, partners, and organizations tied to his ventures. The risk of association became a very real consideration. Even projects designed to be socially beneficial now had to navigate reputational and practical challenges. In effect, dissolving these businesses marked the closure of his working royal business model. By 2025, Andrew's public initiatives were largely gone. What remained was a combination of private life, residual wealth, and a few personal connections. The winding down of pitch at Palace and other ventures marked both a legal and symbolic shift. He was no longer operating with the privileges and protections of a senior royal. The stage was set for the final chapters of this transformation, including the personal and public adjustments that came with complete withdrawal from formal royal life. These changes naturally lead to how Andrew manages his social, family, and personal world under intense scrutiny. What we know with certainty comes from official documents and verifiable filings. Buckingham Palace statements laid out the decisions on his role and support. Beyond this core record, there are areas that remain uncertain. Media reports, biographies, and investigative articles have cited figures for private allowances, relocation payouts, or ongoing stipends. These numbers are never confirmed by the palace and remain unverified. Similarly, internal family arrangements, discretionary funds, or private security contracts are not publicly accessible. We can confirm what sources report, but these uncertainties are part of the story. They shape both public perception and Andrew's day-to-day reality. Without being provable, there are signals that viewers and observers can watch for in the months ahead. Companies' house closure notices will confirm the final dissolutions of remaining Andrew-related entities. Updates from charities, trustees, or regulatory inquiries may also reveal further adjustments to his formal affiliations. Police or government regulatory actions, if any, would add additional oversight. These are the concrete signs to monitor that could confirm or clarify how Andrew's life continues to change outside the framework of senior royal duties and institutional protections. Removing a prince's style and title has broader implications. The precedent is important for the monarchy as a whole. Future cases may reference Andrew's situation when discussing how titles, styles, and associated responsibilities are granted or withdrawn. Taken together, the narrative around Andrew's financial support and public role is complex and layered. Headlines claim that financial support was removed, but the reality is more nuanced. Some reporting suggests outright cuts, while other accounts describe one-off payouts or modest ongoing stipends. What is certain is the official record. His royal style and title are gone. Business ventures have been dissolved, and the legal case with Giuffre has been resolved. That combination establishes the provable truth of his current position. In the end, the record confirms a clear transformation. Andrew is no longer a working royal with the privileges, responsibilities, and resources of a senior family member. What do you think? Could the monarchy have handled Prince Andrew's situation differently? And what does this tell us about the limits of royal privilege in today's world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.